Oh, so the building over here with the brown central brown door there, that is where Don Christensen's loft is located on the upper floor. And somehow I was invited over here and met him, and at the same time I met the guitarist Jim McAllister. And as I mentioned in the Barnabas Rex segment, we rehearsed and we played my attempt to adapt the duet that I recorded in 1962 with Lamont. And so we were, it came to an end at Barnabas Rex, and we sort of came back here, and an art band called the Art Wisers was rehearsing in Christensen's loft, and so I just sort of stepped in with the two of them, and we had at that originally Don played piano. There was a drummer, I believe, named Timothy Baer. Paul Collin came in at some point on saxophone, and so we began to rehearse here. We played a, well, let me see, it's possible that one of the first things that we did was a recording session at a recording studio on Green Street. Excuse me, Worcester. Yeah, I think it was Green Street. And so we recorded a number of tracks, including tracks that we later performed live. The one called Portrait, for example. And as a matter of fact, even before we had our first concert, which was at Anthology Film Archives, whether it was called that or not, at 80 Worcester Street, that would have been late January of '75. And before that, I remember that the tape we made in the recording studio, I remember we were playing it. Larry Poons had moved to Broadway. And so I remember, going up there from time to time, and I'd taken the tape up there, and we were playing the tape for several people, including Paul Collin, who was up there. This may have been before he actually joined us. And I think that the main thing that we played was like our recorded version of that attempt at that violin-piano duet, which by that time also had a rhythm guitar. And Paul Collins said it sounds like a bar mitzvah band trying to play rock and roll. I think that he was especially referring to it, probably still had a chamber music sound, and the violin was probably in transition between perhaps even classical music and rock or wherever I would end up. And I remember that the drummer did not like that comment, but it was actually helpful. Because there was a problem there in sort of developing this to where it needed to go. We gave our first live concert at Anthology Film Archives at 80 Worcester. And so all that spring, we were regularly rehearsing over here. We had another concert at Anthology Film Archives. It might have been May, I don't remember exactly. And then the last concert, when things were also already getting sort of a little shaky with the band and everything, but the last concert was at the Kitchen, June of 1975. And I remember that during that period, because of, particularly, I guess, Don and Jim McAllister and so forth, I mean, that may have been my sort of social exposure to hedonism, as a lifestyle or as a life option or something like that. And I remember, trying to contend with that in a number of documents. The Genius's Liberation Project essay of 1975, which was the idea of an urban commune that would be completely parasitic. I mean, it would be supported by wealth, would not produce anything. But so that the idea was going to be that a group of people would drop out and sort of start right in with the alternate reality, sort of without further ado, treating sort of the outside, the surrounding city outside as if it were the planet Mars or something like that. There was that, and then I remember, as I began to have the question of hedonism comes up in the song "Creep," which we actually performed June 1975, and I remember my essay on the crisis in physics in 1978. It ended with a section on why intellectualize life, and I suppose that I said that you need to intellectualize life because in effect, you cannot save yourself, through hedonism or something like that. I mean, by that point, I'd come to that conclusion about it. But I feel also knowing Larry Poons from the beginning of the '70s, he was very big on hedonism as well. I sort of remember vividly sort of being presented with that option. I wanted very much to sort of move forward musically, as what would you call it, jazz rock, country rock, all of the above. I mean, sort of moving back freely, among those styles, but definitely doing songs, very much so, and band instrumentals. And Arthur Russell said to me, you shouldn't do that, that your music is much more concentrated when you play solo. And I can understand how he said that, but I was totally committed to trying to work this through in a band format with singing and so forth and so on.